Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it. New releases, new experimental rules, and we talk shop about deployment for bolt action. Let's check it out.
Welcome to Trident Wargaming, a podcast dedicated to all aspects of tabletop wargaming. Your hosts are Bill and Andy.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another bolt action episode of Trident Wargaming. This is episode 37, and I am your host Andy. And today with me once again, good friend Jason. He's joining us here. How's it going,
Hi.
Jason?
Good.
Excellent. So, ready to talk some bolt action?
I figure so. I don't know if you'll learn anything, but I'll talk about it.
Right on. So in this episode, just a few topics kind of go over. Of course, we'll go and talk about what we're working on and whatnot. But there's some new stuff on the horizon. So we'll be kind of talking about a little bit of that, and a couple of the new miniatures and stuff that we've been seeing online, plus some experimental rules and stuff for like warplanes and bolt action. And then kind of our main topic actually is knowing your deployment, just from units to be deploying, the different kind of missions, different scenarios, that kind of stuff. So just a little overcap of what this one's about. Let's start off with what's on your workstation. What's going on?
Well, my workstation is tackling my pile of shame. So I've been working on winter Stalingrad Germans.
Okay, right.
I've been working on French partisans to give me a break from various greenish grays. And then I've been working on black powder Union Army in 28 millimeter scale.
Nice. Yeah, you have a fair bit of that. Remember what we were talking about. So.
Just like 500 of them or so. But,
no, I hear you. I'm kind of actually, as you were saying that, I kind of looked over at my pile of shame, and it's actually leaning right now. So at any minute, if I budge the desk, it might topple over. But no, that's cool. I know we had a lot of products on the go, and I know we were playing in the past few weeks, last month there, before we got shut down again. But it was good to get back out, rolling some dice for when we could, and just so many more projects and so many new ideas kind of hit us all at once.
yeah.
Right, black powder, all that stuff.
Yeah, black powder for sure. With the
that'll be exciting. That'll be pretty awesome. It was a pretty fun game, and maybe we'll have to do an episode on that once we get some more games under our belt and whatnot, and just kind of our initial thoughts on it. But myself, the usual, kind of all over the place. As for bolt action, still plugging away at those Germans slowly. I got some touch-ups to do, I noticed, just from transportation. The magnets didn't hold quite well. So there's that, plus, just what army am I going to do next, or terrain. And I think terrain might be the big one as we're kind of going into the end of the year, trying to get stuff prepped for next year. So lots of MDF terrain to build there, and then of course trying to figure out just 3D printing stuff too, right? So but painting, just a whole bunch of other systems right now, and slowly on the Germans again. I did get my my Stug 33B, which I need to get painted up for that army. So
nice.
Yeah, that was a good find, but can't remember the name of the place I got it from. But it's a good kit; it fits right in. So cool, yeah. So pretty much that's stuff we're working on. But what's new in this crazy world of the internet and wargaming? And just recently, they released a pre-order of the new campaign book, the
Ooh,
the Italian soft underbelly release.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I've talked about this book a while back, and I've also talked about other stuff that's coming out here that we'll talk about as well. I mentioned probably about a year ago. I mentioned it. Just kind of heard things and read some stuff, and also
Yeah, it's
got
been a long time.
word, from one of the guys from Warrior Games as well. That stuff is coming on the horizon. So pretty much it is happening. And yeah, this book, Jason, I don't know if you read any of the community warlord community articles or anything on them, but just like most of the other books, new scenarios, theater selectors for like the British and the US and the Germans and of course the Italians, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I did see Ortona, which I'm excited to see, also known as Stalingrad of the West.
okay, yeah, yeah.
It'll be a pretty brutal scenario, I'm thinking, without seeing it. Canadians involved, of course. So that'll be interesting to play out.
Yeah, no,
And of
it's
course, I'll have to do Italians and I'll have to do Canadians in Italy because two other Canadian armies isn't enough.
I still haven't made one, so but you know me, I got tons of other stuff going on too. But it's pretty neat because like it's it focuses on Operation Husky, and the airborne and the naval invasion of like Sicily, right? So it's pretty neat. They'll have pretty much like the advance all the way up the Italian peninsula towards like Rome. So lots of scenarios. I'm sure it's probably going to be as thick as some of these latest scenario books or campaign books that they have been releasing.
Which are great, by the way. I'm loving the campaign books.
Mm-hmm.
Even the ones I'm not necessarily planning on making an army for. I do like they're good reads. They're decent books. They're well made. I am a fan.
Yeah, no, I know I've bought the majority of them. I think there's a few I might be missing. Like I literally have to make a catalog of which ones I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's the good information in it, and just tons and tons of like options and scenarios and different theater selectors, like we mentioned, and it's just even the special rules that they usually come with at the back, you know,
Yeah.
like deep mud and stuff like that, right? But
Just fun to throw into other games too, which is something I kind of want to do is go through and pick and compile and
100%.
get some of those dug out for our regular old games too.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe that's something we do actually is make a list and start trying them out eventually, right? And just throwing them in games and have a game night where, okay, guys, we're throwing these special rooms into your games. Try them out. Go.
Totally.
So that'd be awesome. So yeah, so not only is the campaign book coming out, but Warlord Games Open Day revealed some new miniatures as well for the Italians, which super hyped for because they definitely needed new miniatures or more units, right? Because they only really had the one or two box sets. And from what I've read here, and I think it's on their community page, that first off, there's a plastic Italian set coming out.
Yeah.
Right? Which is just gravy. It's pretty much plastic Italian army and or black shirts.
And the plastic boxes are great because with it, as long as they follow the same recipe they have been, within that one box, you'll get 30 guys probably.
Mm-hmm.
And with those 30 guys, they generally give you enough options to do two kind of full basic squads and then an officer and some support.
Yeah.
So in that box, you're probably going to be able to sneak out 400 points. Maybe
for
a
sure.
little more. And then, so right there, so one purchase and you're almost at an army, that you can play. I like it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm actually looking at the sprue right now online, and the usual, rifles, the LMG is in there, um, possible sniper rifle. I'm not sure. That could be another LMG, but they have looks like three or four different sets of heads, right?
Ooh.
So you have there's options there. There's the Bersaglieri, probably butchered that, but
Close enough anyway.
so you have them. You also have the Alpini mountain troops
Yep.
that you can use, and then you have your normal helmeted, Italian infantry, and then there's a couple others there too. I can't quite make what they are, but they could be just different military hats, right? And then it looks like maybe there's some officer heads as well. So, but no, kit looks pretty nice. Standard. You have your advancing, your kneeling, you're taking the stance and firing kind of position. So, looks pretty good. Not only with just the plastic kits, but they do have other kits coming out too. And from what I read, is they're actually the old line is being completely replaced. So you will be getting the Italian Guastatori assault engineers, and also the San Marco Division Marines. And then you have the Italian colonial troops, the Eritreans.
Eritreans, I think.
Eritreans? Yeah, I can't tell what. Yeah, it is Eritreans actually. So looking at them, they're look like I was talking before. They're all pewter. But from what they say is that they are pretty much to be like up to par with the plastic miniatures for their molds and stuff. So it'll be pretty nice to see them too, and they look really nice. The sculpts look really, really nice. So
nice. Yeah, I was looking at the pictures. It looks sweet.
Lots of options there. Plus they have, of course, there's new vehicles coming too. I know there's some resin Fiats, 626 trucks and Scudato armored versions of them, and then you have your tanks, M11, 39 mediums, and stuff like that. So yeah, they're doing a fair bit of work on them. They're bringing a lot of units for them, which is great. Hopefully, we'll see an influx of Italian players. I know we had one in our community, but kind of just disappeared.
Yeah.
But I know I'll definitely get myself an army of them, just because. So, yeah, pretty cool. I like the direction they're going. I like to see more of that happening, and they're definitely on the right path. So, hopefully my French will get that same love at some point. But if it happens, it happens. If not, well, still got my old stuff. So.
Yeah, you can console yourself with the baguette.
Yeah. But going forward, a couple more things for what's new. War Games Atlantic has actually brought out some new kits as well. Funny enough, there's an Italian plastic infantry kit that they're coming out with. So it's kind of perfect timing for what's going on here too. Pretty detailed kit as well. Looks pretty decent. Looks like there's actually a fair bit of options to them on the sprues. I've never gotten one of these kits, and I think down the road in the future I'll probably order a couple and do an unboxing of them.
Nice.
But I am, the Italian kits, I think I'll stick with Warlord just because their new stuff is coming out for sure.
Yeah.
But they also have their French, which is a World War One, World War Two kit, which is pretty cool. It's a plastic French infantry and like Senegalese kit.
That would be nice.
Lots of options there. Again, you get like 32 guys or something like that, and I want to see what they're like compared to the pewter ones that I have already. Because as you know, Jason, I got tons of French. So, but yeah, just see the options, see the molds, see if they are similar size. Because I know you mentioned that some of their molds are a little different for size.
Yeah, the scale might be a bit different, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'd like to see it too, because I'm interested in their French resistance box, actually.
Not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna order it tonight. So
there you go. Yeah, I'll try to convince you to give those to me.
Yeah. So yeah, model wise, that's just some of the stuff that's kind of coming out that kind of ties in with a lot of this new release stuff. We also have one of the other new things that kind of came down the pipe a little while ago was the experimental rules for warplanes in bolt action. Now, there's actually a lot of details to these experimental rules.
Now, are these the same experimental rules that they had out with the first edition? Just updated, or are these completely new? I'm not sure.
So that I don't know. I'm not sure because I actually never played first edition of Bolt Action, right? Yeah. But this was like September 1st by Alessio Cavartor. He released those, and it's pretty neat. Like, you're playing pretty much. You pick a point on a random table edge that your plane comes in, and you actually pick a target unit that you're going to attack, and then you take your plane and you zoom it straight up to the target unit and leave 12 inches in between, right?
Yeah.
And if you can't place your model, then you just move it as close as you can where you're able to place it. And then there's things where you can fire your plane's weapons and stuff at them. There's also the flak attack. Pretty much, you can fire at the plane. The planes have different weaponry. They actually have a list online here of the planes that you can buy and whatnot. And in order to like destroy the plane, when you roll to hit, you're always needing 6 to hit, but a normal 6 to hit, you actually on the damage, they're treated like soft skin vehicles.
Okay.
But when you score a damage result, it doesn't just automatically destroy the plane, it actually ends up putting pins on the plane, and you can only do that with weaponry that is flak or small arms fire that has a 12-inch plus range, so pretty much rifles, right, and maybe machine guns. So they end up, any damage you do, you actually end up putting additional pins onto the plane. Once that plane reaches 6 pins, it veers off, leaves the battle, or is destroyed, whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
But in the turn that the plane comes on and it does that, and let's say it doesn't take 6 pins, and then its next activation or whatever, it has to do a run order where it flies off the board. On the next turn that it comes in, all those pins are gone. So you have to try to destroy it in that single round.
Yeah.
Right? Which
That's fun.
You could do, but the thing with the plane is it pretty much, it's not on the board dealing damage every turn. It's like every other turn.
Yeah.
Right.
So, if I remember correctly, what is there like dogfighting in these rules too?
Apparently there is. I'm not. It's so Warplane visits Warplane, is what it is.
You can make that plane cheese off with your own planes, which is kind of pretty fun, pretty cinematic concept. The troops fighting below and the dog fighting in the skies above, or the your trying to protect its airspace, protect you from getting attacked.
Yeah, so pretty much it's like it's done exactly like you were attacking ground targets. So you simply fly your warplane until it ends its move 12 inches from the enemy warplane while it's on the table. And then if your final position, if your target's rear arc, you're actually hitting on a 4+ rather than a 6, right?
Nice.
It's like you're tailing the other plane, right? No modifiers apply. However, if the target has a machine gun in the rear arc, it will shoot as if it was an ambush against your attacking plane before you can open fire, hitting on a 5+. So
okay.
So yeah, fun. It's intervening terrain is ignored, of course, because they're flying high above, fighting each other. And then they have other stuff here too, where it's like air superiority, interceptor ambush. Not sure. I haven't read that part that far into it. Yeah, apparently, if your interceptors are in reserve, they can be ordered to ambush. And if they do this, the plane is waiting high in the clouds, ready to dive against an enemy aircraft that approaches. So any interceptor in ambush could come in against an enemy warplane that is about to attack a ground target. And then it goes into the rules of how that's actually done.
And then he can try to zap them.
So, yeah, pretty much.
That's fun. Just gives another element to think about.
Yeah, and there's, like, I was reading on the weapons, actually, for the warplanes, and they have, I believe it's rockets and bombs, and they're treated as, so bombs, I believe, are medium howitzers, and rockets are heavy howitzers. And they can only be fired a number of times. The weapons have like a number in brackets.
Yeah.
So which pretty much gives you that, payload that they have, right? The limited payload. So it's pretty neat. Like I'm looking here at some of them. They have, a Junkers Ju-87 Stuka dive bomber. It's 100 points. For inexperienced, 125 for regular, 150 for veteran. It's got 2 MMGs and bombs and 2 in brackets, all covering the front, and then 1 MMG covering the rear. So pretty standard kind of weaponry, right? They've taken it all and they've all converted into actual bolt action. Like it's nothing new, right? It's not some kind of new thing. So it's pretty neat. They have light autocannons as well and HMGs. So, and the prices aren't, they're not if you go veteran, you're going like 288 kind of thing, right, for some of the planes. So depending on how much you want to spend on it,
In my mind, you're agreeing with your opponent that you're going to use these rules in advance anyway.
Yep.
And say you're playing a 1,250 point game. You just say, okay, we're playing 1,250 points. We each got, instead of 1,250, let's play 1,500. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no, that's true. That's a good one. Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to take away from your ground game.
You have an additional this many points to use for a warplane. They even have French warplanes.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I love like obscure tanks and aircraft that aren't super famous. So
Hmm.
that's I'm all over that.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna have to get my German model kits all done up then. I have a Messerschmitt and a Stuka that I can build. So, which probably can be used for Blood Red Skies as well, or Big Red Skies. So,
Well, that's true. The 172 scale
yeah. So
game.
I'm
Yeah.
eventually gonna look into that game too. I have the older version of it. I'm not sure if the new stuff that they brought out is actually a new version or not, but yeah, we'll have to check that out and incorporate it eventually.
Sweet.
But yeah, cool. It's some good rules in there. Check it out. They actually have quite a few different warplanes for all the major factions, and then plus they have Italian and French. So check all that out. Throw it in your games. Let us know what it's like. Seems seems like it'd be a good time.
Seems fun. Can't hurt.
No, 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 not at all. So yeah, I know we'll probably check that out eventually when we start playing again. But yeah, going forward onto our main topic. So yeah, knowing your deployment. Um, this was kind of just something I was thinking about as we were playing games, and as I was kind of talking with Bill, teaching him the game and whatnot, and came up in a mission where we were playing the mission, and uh, we actually didn't really quite go through the whole mission, and I forgot that the reserves come in a different way, right? It's I can't remember the mission, but it's like you end up coming from whatever side that your opponent hasn't come on, or you have the
Oh,
option
that's
to.
right. I forget what that rule is called, but basically, you're you're allowed to come in as reserves from any table edge other than the one that your
Exactly.
enemy's last unit came in on. So if your last enemy's last unit came from the left table edge, you can go from yours, his, or the right table side, but not the left.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so with this, um, you definitely want to know and kind of analyze like the missions and the kind of different setups that you're going to run into, because half of the missions are pretty much battle scenarios, the other half are attacker defenders, and they each have different setups, right? You're not just doing a standard Dawn of War where it's just across the table, right? You have other missions where you're setting up half of your army in the middle of the board, and you got to fend off until your other reserves come in. So different missions, different setups, different deployments, and then of course there's reserves, which can be troublesome and whatnot. So
It's totally good to point out. It is absolutely worth just taking the 2 minutes before the battle and read the scenario
yeah.
and make sure you know what the victory conditions are. It's such a bummer when you go through a great game, you're having a great time, and you realize that neither of you can win because you both forgot what the
Yeah, you fumbled
what
on the
the
mission, did you?
you
Yeah.
forgot what the mission was, or you misunderstood the mission, or you got the one part of it but not the other.
Yeah,
Just
see,
take time. Two
and,
minutes, all it takes.
and it's funny you mentioned that, because like that's exactly what happened in mine and Bill's match, because we were looking at it, right, and it's like, okay, well, you got to come and take out my commander in close combat, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was the mission, right? And it's like, okay, well, of course, I overlooked that other set of uh, scenario rules that you could come from whatever direction.
Yeah, so he
And it
can't
was
just
like,
park and
what was that, Jason?
so he can't just park his commander, in a very far corner or something, you know.
Exactly. Like your commander started in the middle, but
Yeah.
it was when we looked at it afterwards, and I realized the mistake. It was like, oh, that would have made a big difference. Huge difference, right? Because you would have actually had the opportunity to get in instead of just coming in from one side. So, yeah, like again, check out your mission for sure. But going on with like the missions, like one of the points I have here is comparing those games where you have your first wave and then you have your units that go in reserves, right? Now, we all know that rolling for reserves can be a pain in the butt, especially depending on what kind of morale your army has. I find.
And
Go ahead.
and what army you're using, right? The U.S.
Yeah.
have the good communications or brilliant communications, whatever the rule is, where they don't suffer the -1
To the
for
reserve.
putting on reserves.
Yeah, definitely. It's like for my my French army, because a lot of times I play inexperienced. When I'm playing that kind of game, a lot of times I'm failing my rolls, right?
Yeah.
So like half of my army is still stuck in reserve turn 3, right?
Another important point is it's important to check because it could be misread. Does this scenario require that half your army is put in reserve, or allow you to put up to half your army into reserve?
Yeah.
So it's worth double checking that small point before you worry. You know, like, oh, I don't want to put guys in reserve, but take the second to double check because you might not have to. I know personally, a lot of times, if the scenario has preparatory bombardment, I'll consider using reserves. Otherwise, I generally don't. I like having
I guess like all your options on the board, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's me too.
Ready to rock and roll. And I just have such bummer luck that I don't want that guy stuck out of the battle for the whole freaking game. That's the worst. Win or lose, I'm fine and dandy, but gosh darn, I want my units to play.
Yeah, and that goes into account with, like, we're talking about reserves, right? But it goes into account of what, like, if you're forced to do that, if you're forced to have a first wave, what units make, good options for that? What units would you put in reserve because you think, okay, well, I need them on the board right away to actually start doing something, right?
Things I like to put on the board for sure, and I don't really ever want to put in reserve are artillery.
Yeah.
Just to get they're going to be one of the few units that are probably going to be able to shoot in the first turn. So to not get a first turn with that unit sucks. Same as tanks and any recce vehicles, because for the tanks, the same reason. If I know if I'm going to get a shot in the first turn, it's going to be because of a tank or a big gun. And recce, I like to be able to suck away enemy shots, because all the recce vehicles are kind of annoying enough that they don't want to risk you driving up there. So if they have something that can shoot at it, they'll consider it and possibly make you recce away, which is great because it means that their tank's not shooting my tank or whatever, right? And if they don't, then my recce vehicle can get in behind and cause all sorts of mischief. So I like having those up front. Also, it depends too if I have something that I have to lock down, like an objective that I have to secure.
Yeah.
I mean, getting into, and a lot of these objectives, I mean, when I'm playing at least, normally I want, people are putting them like, that building is those ruins are object, they're in the flavor of the game. They're generally points that could conceivably be worthwhile. So it's a good idea to get into the cover and make them fight you out of it rather than you fight them out of it. So, those kind of considerations too. And if you have to move infantry, I play airborne a lot of times. So if I have to hump my infantry across the table, I don't have time to waste coming on turn 2. I need to get hoofing it as quick as I can.
Oh, exactly.
So
There's there's a whole bunch of things to consider, especially like you were just talking about, like the mission, right? Like, do I gotta capture the opponent's HQ? Do I have to hold down, objectives? Do I gotta destroy the enemy base, like in the one mission, right? That kind of thing. And
yeah,
sure, like also gotta think too, like, is there kill points, right? Like, so if I'm deploying my first wave units, and let's say I got 5 units, and I'm placing down, an MMG team, a mortar team, a sniper team, my HQ, and an infantry squad. Well, more than likely that infantry squad is going to stay alive on the board, but those small teams, they could easily get picked off.
yeah,
Right?
that's true.
And that's the one thing that kind of sucks about that, because like, if, as an example, my mortar team, if I keep him in reserves, well, he's not doing anything, right?
Yeah,
He's going to come on, I'm going to position him, and then it's going to take another turn. Finally in position, now he can fire.
yeah. So assuming everything goes great, you
Yeah.
get him on your first reserve roll. He's not firing till turn 3.
Yeah,
You're halfway through a standard game,
which, is that a
and you
waste?
need a 6 to hit.
Exactly.
Right? So you're not going to get him on turn 3, and at best, a mortar's, if he has 6 turns shooting, he's going to hit once. I mean, good.
Yeah.
I mean, you might do a little better than that, but that's above average. So those kind of things, probably got to put them out.
And it's also too, like, when you're deciding what you're bringing on or what you have to deploy, because there's the missions where you have your first wave and it comes on, or you have the mission where half of your army is deployed, right? So now it's like, okay, I have the option of deploying these units. Let's take advantage of the cover. Let's put our units in cover. So now you got some options, right? Now, okay, I'm in some hard cover, so he's already getting a -2. He's probably going to be firing at long range. He's probably going to be moving to cut that distance down. So now what do I put? Well, okay, that howitzer, yeah, it's going on the field. It's going to be firing away. Like, let's make these things work. And then when it comes to kill points and stuff, you're pretty much going to be thinking of what enemy units can I target and knock out quick to pretty much dismantle my opponent's killing ability with his units, right? You have a sniper, you have a pretty good chance at taking MMG teams, mortar teams out, bazooka teams, all those little teams that as soon as you knock out the gun, they're done. You know what I mean? Or if he has a sniper on the board and you have the ability to take his sniper out, boom, you take him out. Now there's that huge deterrent of, like, he doesn't have a sniper anymore. My team,
he can't target your vulnerable team weapons.
Exactly. Or you have an observer, or you have a spotter,
But in all fairness, snipers always miss.
They do.
Or they'll hit every time, but they'll fail to wound.
My sniper on my last round actually did quite well. But yeah, no, it's the one shot, right? It's the one
Yeah.
shot. But if you get it through, he's a champion, you know. So
Every once in a while, there's a game where they pay for themselves. Otherwise, they're just super cool. So I still take them.
yeah.
Super cool beats out good in game.
See, and that's the thing too, like with deployment and whatnot as well, is positioning. You know, positioning your units. If you know you only have half of your army on the board, and you're kind of looking across the board, and you're looking at the opponent, you're like, ooh, he's got a tank, he's got some heavy guns, you know, you might be out of range or something like that. Use that terrain to block that line of sight, to buy
Yeah,
yourself some time.
yeah, sometimes the best way to deal with a tank is to have him have nothing to shoot at.
Exactly.
You know, so you might not take out that tank, but if that tank doesn't take out, I mean, even a cheaper tank is generally 200 points plus, you know, besides some of the really early war stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. You just essentially wasted 200 points of his.
No, definitely, definitely. It's all tactics. It's all just kind of observing the battlefield, even with terrain, right? Like if there's not a lot of line of sight blocking terrain, which I really doubt in a game of bolt action because there usually is a fair bit. Um, you know, if there isn't, try to utilize that cover that's going to give you the most, right? You know, don't pull an Andy and stick your unit in the open right off the bat and then just get pulverized and you're always doing down orders on them because they're just pinned. You know, I mean, I sometimes I do that on purpose to just show new players what, you know, what can happen.
Yeah.
Especially with like the mechanics of the game, with, you know, the pinning mechanics. It's always nice to show people how the game works. But in, like, you know, just my regular matches that I play, or if I'm playing in a tournament, you definitely got to look at the field. You definitely got to look at your setup. You think about um, what units of yours are going to be the most effective, where and when, right?
Yeah.
Being it first wave, or being it first deployment, or maybe there is a unit you want in reserve, or you know what, I want all my fast units on the board now just because of this mission is for me to get off the opponent's side of the board to score points. Hey,
Yeah.
I got that fast truck that's carrying 6 units. Let's go. Right? You know, or you have them in reserve and round 2 nothing, round 3 nothing, round 4 nothing. Ugh, you know.
Yep. If I had better luck, maybe I'd use reserves more because there are situations. We listed a lot of bad times.
Yeah, with like outflanking, I don't really use it that often. Maybe I think I've seen maybe used a few times, but you pretty much your unit like gets stuck in reserve for a while, and then there's an increased chance of where they're going to be able to deploy. So that's an option as well.
Especially for armies like Dustin's LRDG,
Mm-hmm.
where they're all mounted in their trucks with 800 machine guns and they pop on behind you and machine gun you to death. It can be pretty brutal.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And then there's flamethrower teams and stuff like that too that can take an effect, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like overall, there's other things to think about as well. You know, like Jason mentioned earlier with prep bombardment. Do you want to keep stuff in reserve so they don't get hit by it, or are you going to leave stuff on the board that can actually take the hit? You know, I don't know how many times, and even in the last 4 games, I've lost my commander because of prep bombardment. You know, just a big old splat. It's like,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
remember, like, prep bombardment only does one wound.
yeah,
So I mean, having a squad out there, it isn't really a big deal. You might get a couple of pins to start off, but if you
Yeah,
take your first turn to rally with the odd unit, it's not that bad. But if your commander gets smacked, or a a sniper or something like that, or a vehicle, can really be a big uh,
downer. Yeah.
advantage to the enemy right away.
Oh, definitely. And that's happened to me quite a bit.
Mm.
Transport gets popped right off the bat. It's like, could have used that, right?
Yeah.
So, and then going forward too with that, like as you're building your armies, building your lists, you keep that in mind. You also keep in mind the theater selectors you're using. There might be options in those theater selectors that give you some kind of advantage for stuff like that. So if you're building your list and you're kind of tinkering with a lot more specialized units or smaller units, just keep in mind for knowing your deployment is smaller units that you have, there's pretty good chance that they're going to get taken out quickly and a bit easier than some other units. They might be tough as nails, with veterans, which is a pretty good chance, but heavy howitzer is still a heavy howitzer, and it's still going to knock you
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah, you're still toast.
So yeah, definitely like check that out, kind of get a game plan, take a few minutes and think about, you know, how survivable your units are. Like the mission where you're placed smack in the middle of the table and, your opponent is coming at you. For me, I'm pretty much trying to protect my commander, so I tend to look to have my infantry units up there with him in cover. Sometimes I'll have like MMG teams just for that extra firepower. I
Mhm.
I don't like having a tank up there just to the simple fact that you're now on the board, like you're exposed most of the time.
Yeah, in that scenario, yeah, that's a tough call. I don't know if I would put a tank out either.
Yeah, so unless it's one of those small like little Polish tanks that can be hidden by a wall, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, overall, um, pretty much thoughts on that. Jason is just kind of know that deployment. Analyze some of the options that you have and what your units can do, and is it a kill point game? How easily can you take out the opponent's units? That kind of thing, right? So
Totally. What's your leadership? Are you likely to achieve your reserve role early, or are you going to get stuck off?
yeah,
Uh, you know, those kind of things are a big deal.
and there's also that one mission where you actually have to get off the board with the objective,
Oh yeah.
right? And that definitely can be a tricky one. So and the one nice thing with bolt action is like your units can actually move pretty fast with run orders of moving 12-inch gaps. That's pretty fast, right? So
Yeah.
again, are you going to grab that objective with a smaller unit? You might, just to hide it away from things, but if you got a bigger unit, at least it can survive a bit more. So plan your route, plan what units you want to use. So yeah, I think that's kind of the idea for this whole topic is just study your mission, I guess. Study the mission, study the layout. Make sure you got the right tools for the job. Get her done.
Get her down. Let her rip.
So, and of course, going with this whole concept and idea is this is based off of the the missions in the main rule book, right? And as you guys go and you play these campaign scenarios, you're going to find so many different missions, and it's the best thing to do is just kind of take a few minutes and really read the mission and then plan out your force, especially if they end up dividing your force into reserves and first waves. So yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, the advice I have for that. How about
Yeah,
you, Jason? Any thoughts on that?
I think that's really about all. And I mean, I am a 50-50 win-loss ratio commander, so take what I say with a grain of salt.
Right on, right on. Well, if any of you guys listening, have any thoughts or ideas or comments, please let me know. Post it in the comments below.
Or help. If you have help, bring me
Yeah.
up to a 60-40 winning, losing general. Let's say.
Exactly. So yeah, if you have any ideas or if you guys want to hear about other kind of stuff, just hit us up here at Trident Wargaming. Let us know, email or comment. We'll definitely take a look at that and start talking about more topics like that. So again, thanks, Jason, for jumping on with me and having the share of the knowledge and experience between us for these
No
games
worries.
and whatnot. So
Thanks for having me.
no problem. And thanks to you guys for checking us out and listening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And again, check out our Instagram and Facebook, YouTube. We got lots of different videos, from hobby videos to unboxing and whatnot, plus their podcasts. So definitely check that out, and hopefully we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Bye.